Meta description. Opening. What if Taehyung's silence isn't just sadness, but an old wound reopening after Jungkook's honesty? Are ARMY ready to face the truth behind what was never said? Before you read any further, pause for a moment and ask yourself this. If everything was truly fine, why does Taehyung's silence feel heavier than ever? Why does Jungkook's honesty, instead of calming the storm, leave ARMY with even more unanswered questions? If you feel that tension too, you're not alone. ARMY around the world are sensing it, talking about it, and quietly wondering the same thing. Before diving into this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because your voice matters in this conversation. What you feel, what you notice, and what you question could be the missing piece in understanding what is really happening behind the scenes. At first glance, silence is easy to misunderstand. In the world of idols, where every smile is analyzed and every gesture becomes a headline, silence often gets labeled as moodiness, exhaustion, or simply a bad day. But Taehyung's silence after Jungkook's honesty doesn't feel ordinary. It doesn't feel like the kind of quiet that comes from being tired or wanting privacy. It feels deeper, heavier, and more complicated. ARMY are beginning to realize that this isn't just about sadness. This is about something older, something unresolved, something that may have been buried for years and is now quietly resurfacing. When Jungkook finally spoke honestly, many fans believed it would be the end of speculation. Honesty is supposed to heal, to clear misunderstandings, to bring peace. But instead of closure, it opened a door to more questions. Jungkook's words felt sincere, even vulnerable, yet Taehyung's reaction, or lack of reaction, became the loudest response of all. No dramatic statement, no visible reassurance, no public alignment that fans were expecting. Just silence. And that silence felt unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable. ARMY started replaying old moments, old interviews, old behind-the-scenes clips. The way Taehyung used to laugh freely, the way he once leaned into interactions without hesitation, the warmth that felt effortless. Comparing those moments to now, many fans noticed a shift that couldn't be explained by schedules or maturity alone. It felt like something had changed internally. Something invisible but powerful enough to alter the way he carries himself. Silence, after all, can be a form of protection. When words fail or when speaking feels too risky, silence becomes a shield. And ARMY are beginning to wonder. What is Taehyung protecting himself from? Is it disappointment? Is it a memory that still hurts? Or is it the fear that speaking out might reopen wounds that never fully healed? The emotional weight of this situation lies in the contrast. Jungkook's honesty felt like a release, almost like a confession that had been held in for too long. Yet Taehyung's stillness feels like the opposite, a tightening, a withdrawal, a pause that suggests reflection rather than relief. This contrast is what makes the situation so unsettling. Two people connected by years of shared history, standing at what feels like two different emotional crossroads. ARMY, known for their intuition and emotional sensitivity, didn't ignore this shift. Social media filled with quiet concerns rather than loud accusations. Fans began asking softer, more painful questions. What if Taehyung isn't angry but hurt? What if his silence isn't a response to Jungkook, but a response to himself? What if this honesty brought back memories he thought he had already come to terms with? There is something haunting about unresolved pain. It doesn't announce itself loudly. It waits. It hides behind smiles and professionalism. And when something triggers it, the reaction is often subtle, almost invisible to those who aren't paying close attention. Taehyung has always been expressive in his own way, someone who communicates deeply through art, music, and emotion rather than words alone. So when he chooses silence, ARMY know it means something. This is where the idea of an old wound begins to make sense. Old wounds don't always bleed. Sometimes they ache quietly, reminding you of what once hurt without leaving visible marks. Jungkook's honesty may have unintentionally touched that wound, not because it was wrong, but because it brought the past back into focus. A past that perhaps Taehyung has been carrying silently for a long time. What makes this situation even more emotional is the lack of clear answers. There is no statement explaining everything, no neat conclusion that wraps the story up. Instead, there is space. Space for interpretation, for empathy, And for concern, ARMY aren't demanding explanations as much as they are trying to understand the emotional truth behind what they're seeing. Some fans believe Taehyung's silence is a sign of growth, a more mature way of handling complex emotions privately. Others feel it's a sign of exhaustion, not physical but emotional. And then there are those who sense something deeper, something unresolved that goes beyond the present moment. This diversity of interpretations reflects how layered and human this situation feels. Emotionally, the story resonates because it mirrors real life. How many times have people smiled in public while dealing with old pain in private? How often does honesty from someone else force us to confront feelings we thought we had already processed? Taehyung's silence becomes a mirror for anyone who has ever chosen quiet over explanation because explaining felt too painful. The tension grows because silence invites imagination. And imagination, when combined with care and concern, can be overwhelming. ARMY don't want drama. They want understanding. They want reassurance that the people they admire are okay, emotionally and mentally. But reassurance doesn't always come in the form of words. Sometimes, it comes slowly, through time, through subtle changes, through moments that haven't happened yet. This is why the silence feels like a question mark hanging in the air. Not a loud question, but a quiet one that lingers. Is Taehyung healing, or is he hurting? Is this a temporary pause, or a sign of something deeper that needs time to unfold? And perhaps the hardest question of all, will we ever truly know? What ARMY are beginning to realize is that not every story is meant to be fully revealed. Some emotions are lived, not explained. Some truths are carried, not spoken. And sometimes, silence isn't meant to push people away, but to create space for reflection and self-preservation. Still, the emotional impact of this moment cannot be denied. Jungkook's honesty was brave. Taehyung's silence is powerful in a different way. Together, they create a narrative that feels unfinished, raw, and deeply human. It's not a scandal. It's not a conflict designed for headlines. It's a moment of emotional complexity that refuses to be simplified. As ARMY continue to watch, listen, and feel, one thing becomes clear. This isn't just about what was said or not said. It's about understanding that idols, no matter how strong or talented, carry histories and emotions just like everyone else. Taehyung's silence invites empathy rather than judgment. It asks fans to slow down, to feel rather than speculate, and to respect the possibility that healing doesn't always look loud. And so the questions remain, quietly echoing. Is this silence temporary? Is it the beginning of healing, or the sign of an old wound asking to be acknowledged? Perhaps the answer isn't something we're meant to know right now. Perhaps the real story is not in the words spoken, but in the emotions felt. That if this story made you pause, if it stirred something inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Share your thoughts in the comments. Like this article if you felt the tension too, and subscribe to stay part of this ongoing conversation. Because sometimes, understanding begins not with answers, but with the courage to ask the right questions together. The silence, however, does not remain empty. Over time, it begins to take shape, filled by subtle moments that only the most attentive ARMY notice. A glance held a second too long, a smile that appears but doesn't quite reach the eyes, a shift in energy that can't be captured in screenshots, but is felt instinctively. These small details become clues, not to fuel rumors, but to understand emotional truth. And the more ARMY observe, the more it feels like Taehyung is navigating something deeply personal, something that words might only complicate rather than heal. What makes this chapter especially heavy is the shared history between Taehyung and Jungkook. Their bond was never built overnight. It was shaped through years of growth, pressure, laughter, conflict, and mutual dependence. When two people grow together under intense public scrutiny, emotions don't always resolve cleanly. Some feelings evolve, some change form, and some remain unresolved, quietly settling into the background.